Alright, so I'm struggling to figure out how I'm to preface this video. So when you're growing up, it doesn't matter who you are, you have a lot of questions to answer. You have a lot of gaps to fill in to eventually create your own lifestyle, right? Like you got to figure out what job you're going to do. You got to figure out what classes you're going to take. There's always little tiny itty bitty questions and some really big questions that you got to answer for yourself before you can move forward. And then once you have certain things locked in, then that's what allows you to know what you're doing throughout your day-to-day life, whether you be a student or an adult, or you're somewhere in between, like in college, and you're trying to figure out where you're going to go next. And when you're autistic, like I am, when you have Asperger's or whatever have you, it's kind of all the same. I mean, you have certain questions that you need to answer for yourself, but maybe for an autistic person, it's not as simple as just looking at the status quo and going, oh, that's what everyone else is doing, that's what I gotta do. Because with autistic people, it's always variable because it's a spectrum. Sometimes you're on one side, sometimes you're on the other side, sometimes you're a little bit separated from the middle, then a little bit up and down. You know, it's not even, you can't even say the spectrum's a straight line. It's kind of not even a graph, not even, you know, like on the fourth dimension. There's so many different angles and places where you can be put on the spectrum. That being said, some of us have no questions at all to ask or to be answered. Some of us might not even care to answer any questions. We just feel like, all right, here's my life. I'll do what I got to do. And if I need something done for me, then I'll have somebody else fill in the gap for me, but I don't care to do it myself. Like, that's an attitude that someone can have, whether you're on the spectrum or not, really. But then there's other people where you have a whole smorgasbord of things to figure out, especially if you're graduating college like I was, like, 3-4 years ago? I'm not even counting anymore at this point in my life. But, you know, I had to figure out, how am I going to get around? What job am I going to do? How am I going to organize my budget? You know, adulting stuff like that. At this point in my life, overall, I mean, it's never a definite, of course, I feel like I've got it figured out. I feel like I know what I need to do. I feel like I know the ins and outs of my day. I've got a routine. I know how to change up that routine if need be, if I need a little bit more excitement, if I need things to slow down. I know what needs to be done, and I'm pretty content with how things are going thus far. I mean, yeah, there's always things I wish could be different, things I wish could be changed, or things that could be improved, but, I mean, that's freaking life. There's always going to be little knobs you're going to want to turn, switches that you want to flick on and off. You just want to adjust it variably depending on what you're experiencing in the current moment. So your life is never concrete. There's always going to be variations. But at the same time, there's always going to be things that are locked in stone. So that's just a really big, long-winded way of saying everyone's got their own routine, right? You got it, I got it. Jeff from 6 houses over, he's got it. Maybe, I don't know, Jeff. Everyone's got a routine and they know what to do every day for the most part. But then there are certain moments in time, whether it be a big life development or somebody approaches you with a question where your routine is contested and you have to look back on it and see, are there ways I can improve it? Are there certain things that should be staying where they are? You know, is there any room for change? And if I do make changes, will that advance me or hinder me, right? So let's simplify this. I'm autistic. It's not a coveted secret. I've mentioned that on my channel before. That's a big part of what this channel is, explaining the autistic experience. So, and I also have my own routine that I know what to do from when I wake up in the morning to when I go back to bed. I got it down pat. I'm pretty good. But on the other side of things, I also receive questions about the way I live, my lifestyle. Of course, I get questions from people who do know I'm on the spectrum, and I'm like, all right, sure, we'll have an open dialogue. But even when I'm somewhere where people wouldn't know, like at the workplace, people notice certain things about the way I live, and things just kind of seep out of the cracks, and they're tempted to ask things. And firstly, I should preface, there's never anything wrong with asking questions about the way someone lives. Well, yes and no, but we'll get to that. But what I wanted to talk about today, eventually, is my least favorite question to receive as an autistic person. Simply, I'll stop beating around the bush, why do I not drive? I have received that question on so many occasions from so many people, and it's wearing me out, man. It's really tiring. And again, I said there was a gray area when you're asking somebody about why they live a certain way. I mean, it's first of all, it's okay to be curious. It's okay to wonder. There's nothing wrong with that. That's what allows the human experience to grow. That's what allows us to get access to more knowledge and learn about the other side of the coin and what other people do. I mean, that's important. It's just a way of us getting more cultured by being curious. But at the same time, when you're outwardly asking someone questions about why they do what they do or why they don't do what they don't do, then it's getting a little personal, right? It's almost as if I walked up to somebody who's eating a salad and I noticed that there's no meat in it, right? And I go, hey, I noticed you're eating a Caesar salad, but why is it not a chicken Caesar salad, you know? And that could be infringing other dietary preferences. Maybe it's personal preference, cultural preference, or maybe they just didn't have any chicken at the deli that day, right? So I guess I'm bugged by that driving question because I'm a person who chooses to stay in my lane. I don't probe people with questions like that. Like, again, I deeply value being curious and wondering why people think certain ways, why people respond in a certain way, or why they do certain things. But I never really approach them and directly ask because at the end of the day, it's none of my business. They do what they got to do. Whether they have certain religious beliefs, political beliefs, or they do certain things in their day to day, it's not my story. So when someone comes up to me and asks why do I not drive, again, whether they know I'm autistic or not, it's kind of like a here I go again, gotta explain the whole gambit, just like I did the millions of other times I've explained it before. Like on the other side of it, I don't think it's wrong to be annoyed by certain questions that you keep getting seemingly day after day. And it just gets really redundant and irritating. You're like, how many times do I got to go through this gambit, right? So I think it's fair to be a little bit PO'd when you keep getting the same question, even if it's from different people every time and they're not the wiser. But still, that stigma of feeling like you have the privilege of asking why a person lives the way they do, that's kind of in the question there. Like, how far should someone be allowed to go into someone's life, I feel like information like that, it should be solicited from the person. Like if they mention, oh yeah, I never told you I don't drive and here's why. I mean, there's a difference there. That person is disclosing information on their own accord. It's not being pried out of them. Know what I mean? So is that a question that bugs me whenever I get it, seemingly for not really any specific reason? Yeah, but do I actually have legitimate answers for that question? Absolutely, certainly do, and that's what I'm going to do right now. Once again, I'm autistic. If you're autistic, it doesn't necessarily mean you are strictly this way or that way. This is just all speaking from my experience. That's a really important disclaimer to put out there. So why is it that I don't drive? For three reasons, really. Firstly, lights. I have a really big issue with lights. I actually wear these. Hold on, 1 second. Let me go get them. So if you've been on this channel for a while, then you know me. I'm a rather creative person. I like creating my own solutions. And one of my big problems in life is I've had issues with sunlight, with bright lights. I mean, not artificial light as much, but there's definitely certain lighting situations where I'm very bugged. It gives me headaches, migraines. It's something I've learned to dumb down, like whether I get ibuprofen or I just take a nap and I feel a lot better. But when you're going through day to day, I mean, you gotta be awake, you gotta do what you need to do, and you gotta go outside. So I actually developed a solution to that, like I think a little after I graduated some years ago. So I got these sunglasses, which my mom got me because, she wanted to help me out with my situation. But I had to take things a step further, so you can actually flip them out. And they have these little blinders on the side to help cover my peripheral vision a little bit. Now, this is not something I'd recommend if you do drive, because obviously that would impede on your ability to see what's going on around you. But I don't drive, so this helps me out a great deal. So that's the first thing. I hate light, and I don't like it when light comes in unexpectedly or if it's in the headlights of a car. It drives me a little bit nuts. So that's why I walk everywhere. That way I have full control of my situation and I don't got to worry about all that extra sensory overload. And that's why I Uber to wherever I need to go these days. Second reason, it can kind of be compounded within the first. So you have light, then you also have motion. Just the movement of things makes me a little bit batty. Whether it be like people walking on the street, or if I'm in a car and the buildings are rushing by, that's another reason why these glasses are so helpful to me and have been so helpful for the past several years. So yeah, if I am able to just cut off my peripheral vision, if I'm in the passenger seat of a car or in the back seat of an Uber or whatever, then that makes a world's difference. It helps avoid headaches, helps prevent my brain from being like a hamster wheel, you know what I mean? So it makes life much more manageable. It takes a huge problem for one autistic person and scratches it right off the board, which is wonderful. Third reason why I don't drive? I don't freaking want to. I've never pictured myself behind the wheel. I don't care to go through the really long and difficult process of obtaining a driver's license. I don't feel like doing all the driver's tests. I don't want to go through the expenses of oil changes, gas changes, fender fixings, engine issues. I mean, I wouldn't be able to live in my apartment if I had a car. So it just wouldn't be practical, anyways. So even if I were, I mean, forget the autistic thing. Like, let's say I were able to drive, like I was a capable driver, I would still nix that option from my lifestyle because I value a humble abode over something that allows me to drive. So those are the core three reasons why I don't drive. And there's probably more if I thought hard enough. But at the same time, you could probably start to understand why I get so annoyed when I receive that question, because I usually get two different types of responses when I give somebody one, if not all, those answers. First possible outcome is they say, okay, I get it, no big deal, all good, enjoy the rest of your day, and the day goes on. And I'm like, all right, cool, big deal, I get to move on. But the second response is a thing that I fear, and it drives me absolutely insane. People who try convincing me to drive in spite of what I've already told them. Like, I had one friend, I say that in quotation marks because I've learned what a friend is and what a friend isn't by this point of my life, and they were so intent on convincing me to drive. One day I was like explaining my whole situation to them, and they were like, you know what, let's go to an open lot, and then I'll put you behind the steering wheel, and we'll just let you drive around as much as you want, and you can get the feel of it. I'm like, dude, no, I told you, I'm sensitive to light, and I'm sensitive to motion. I don't want to drive, and I can't drive. Those are two different things. Two solid reasons why driving ain't gonna happen. It's my decision, and you gotta respect it. I could get it if people are curious and they want to play the what if game, but comes a point where you gotta respect a person's boundaries. Like, if they have certain things going on in their head that they can't control, but they have a method to prevent that chaos from happening, shouldn't you respect that method and that lifestyle? Like, I don't understand why you'd want to push and impede on what a person has already made for themselves. Like, there are certain questions that you can ask someone that are lower level, like, oh, why have you not played chess or something like that? In that case, it's a little different. It's like, oh, I've never played chess before, or, oh, I've tried it once before, didn't really care for it. I mean, that's pretty basic stuff. And that's a situation where you're like, like trying to suggest something to someone, but you're not trying to alter their life, right? But if you're asking someone, why don't you drive, that's a lot more personal, if you get what I mean. I mean, let me know in the comments, do you think I'm being a little oversensitive about this? Or if you can understand my plight as to why that would be such an annoying question to be getting every single day, it feels like. And every time you're talking to someone about it, they always try working you through it like it's a fixable issue. It's like, why are you blind? You know what? Tomorrow, I'm going to help you see. Like, you can't do that, you know? It's useless thinking. So that's my little tirade. I wanted to make this video for quite a while now, and I was just trying to think about the right way to phrase it. I still don't think I phrased it the right way, but hopefully that sheds a little bit of light onto why certain questions shouldn't be asked. I mean, again, throw the whole spectrum autistic thing aside. There are certain questions that you just shouldn't bother asking people. I mean, just leave well enough alone. If they're living well, they're happy, they've got a way to manage their life, then why, try cracking down on it? I don't see any point in that. It's only self-serving, right? It's not going to help the other person because they got something to do. They know what to do. They know the purpose of it. So why do you have to peel apart that engine and get to the inner workings of it? Like, they got their own system. Leave them be. And I guess that's kind of the point of this video. It's to say that it's not inherently wrong to ask questions, but it's the type of question, when you're asking the question, and under what circumstances. Like, if I already told someone that I'm autistic and then they ask, oh, so since you're autistic, do you drive at all? Then it's a little different there because there's an extra bit of context. Again, I've welcomed them into this information already, so it's a different story. I mean, that's a suitable question. But if you just ask it out of the blue, just based on observations that you made, then it's kind of intruding on that privacy. But anyways, I feel like I'm talking in circles. I usually tend to do that on videos like this, but I hope that I've made at least one or two concise points and all that. But end of the story, I don't drive. I don't ever plan on driving for the safety of myself and for the safety of others. I don't want to see myself behind the steering wheel becoming blind or overwhelmed by sensory overload and potentially killing someone. I don't know. That could happen because I don't think that I would be in the right headspace to ever do it. Now, I've never been clinically diagnosed as someone who can't drive, but as someone who's been a lifelong passenger in a car, and that already on its own is intimidating enough, then I think I'm in an appropriate situation where I can say, yeah, driving, nix it. Not gonna happen. Sorry to disappoint. It ain't gonna happen. So yeah, that's all I gotta say today. Let me know what you think in the comments. I mean, it's an open dialogue. What I say isn't the be-all, end-all. I mean, except for the fact that I'm not driving. But, I mean, let me know your perspectives on, like, when is it appropriate to ask certain questions, like, when you're really wondering about someone. Because, again, I'm not a person who asks somebody questions, really, unless they give me information to work with, and then I build off of that. So, yeah, just a little curiosity, a little vlog for the day. So let me know what you think. And yeah, that's it. I'm not pissed off or anything, not angry or anything. It's just a little dialogue I wanted to open up. So anyways, I'm going to try and find a way to wrap this up by saying I hope that you all are having a very nice week and that you enjoy the rest of your evening. So please do that. I hope to see you again.